Hi, welcome to my messy fingers. This is Charlie. I'm on a new project for Scrap and Create. I'm playing with Graphic 45's Flight of Fancy collection, and I'm using everything that came in a bundle to me from Scrap and Create. Now, the album I'm making is 8.5 by 9, and it is so that I can fit in a couple of features off the 12 by 12 collection. But you can do what I'm doing using the 8 by 8 collection. You just have to allow for the reduction in some of your measurements. Now, in this collection, I did get the 8 by 8. I will be using some of this. But I also got the 12 by 12 patterns and solids. And as you can see, I kind of butchered up the front of this. This is the core package. But I wanted an element. There's a butterfly and a hummingbird element. And this has such a nice gloss on it. I actually cut those out so that I could use them here on the front of the album. Now, there is an album build in this playlist for this. I have done mine in white. You can pick whatever colors you want, so that there is kind of a pop in the color. I am trimming in a very dark blue throughout. The exterior album build, I may use a little bit of it in the inside. It depends on what I want to have kind of pop out from the color. This is so bright, these colors. I wanted to find a way to kind of tone them down just a little bit, so I went with the dark blue. Now, the elements I cut off that front were these. There was a big butterfly, and there was the big hummingbird. I wanted to use these to see if something would work, and it does, so I am going to include these in my front development. I'm going to be using some ephemera pieces, so you might want to pull them out. They look like they're the cherry blossoms with the hummingbird. And I have elected this cut up heart. I think on the back side says postcard, but I wanted the front. I love the saying that you fill my heart with joy. This album could go to anybody. And you pre-package maybe some photos, maybe maybe there was a new addition to the family of some kind. So I think this saying is pretty wonderful. Now, to make this pop, I have backed it on white, and then I have backed it on the dark blue, so that when this sits on here, it's not melding in, that it's going to show up a little bit. This big hummingbird is going to sit down here across the bottom. I cut the butterfly in half. Each half will go on either side. You can kind of pull these down just a little bit. And then the cherry blossoms, I'm going to put the large one here, and then the front one I've backed on pop-ups will sit here. I'm going to take some ephemera pieces, stack a butterfly behind there, and then I'm going to stack a postage stamp there. Tiny ephemera piece, it's a butterfly. I'm going to put that over here on the flowers. And then from the ephemera, I'm using Take Delight in the Small Things. I thought that that would fit very well with the sentiment from the album. So this is what the front's going to look like. The side, I took from the sticker packet to the butterfly, and then one of the the saying says, take delight in the small things. It's the same as this, but I wanted it here on the spine. Now, you can adjust the butterflies. You can make this first with the butterflies trailing. You can put this in the middle between the two butterflies. It's your album, so make it the way you want it. And then on the back, so this was a 12 by 12 that I used, which is the butterfly out of the patterns. And then out of the patterns, I picked the geometric shaped paper for my back. And from the rub-ons, there is a piece here that I actually cut it out because I don't want to rub on some of those other images. So I cut it out and I already adhered it to the paper. It's easier for me to do that than for you to sit there and watch me rub and lift and rub and lift. So what it says here is, little by little one travels far. And there's a couple little hummingbird elements in this. It's just a soft little touch for the back of the album. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create and build the front, and slide all that off because I kind of know what I'm going to do. And I'm going to tape these two elements together. Now I am not going to do a closure on this, but you certainly can. You can use a ribbon. If you've got a particular style of closure that you like to use, you can certainly do that. Now if you do, and if you have done it before, you know that most of those closures have to go down before the paper goes down, such as ribbon or lace. And again, this is 8.5 by 9. You can reduce it to an 8 by 8. As I said, I wanted to be able to play a little bit better with some of the larger images. So I went with just a little bit bigger. Get the frame done, and then I'm going to put a couple here to keep the paper from popping up off the cardstock. I'm going to take the middle pieces off first, and then I'm going to very carefully line this up so that the dark blue edge just barely shows. There we go. Oh, that was the short piece. I went with a real long gesture, thinking I was tearing off a big piece of tape, and it wasn't there. What a silly girl. Okay. Now, before I get all the elements on this, I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to get my tape put on for putting down on the album, because I'm using some pop-ups. If I do it first, then it's not being wonky on me because of the elevated height on some of the elements. Much easier to do it this way. And again, I'll put 2 roughly down the center. All right, so that's set and ready to go. So the next thing I want to do is I want to get these 3 elements to put together. Now, you can use whatever postcard that resonates with you. You don't have to use the one I'm using. I just really enjoyed the sentiment that it was giving me. So now I also want to point out that I used a Distress ink. It's gathered twigs from the Distress line, Tim Holtz. I've inked around the edges so that there's a a nice depth in the color. It helps to separate things. And it also helps to allow them to stand out a little bit. And get this on here. There's just ever so slight an edge. All right, now I'm going to center this in here because there's some elements I need to get put down underneath of it. So I want to try and get those in place. Now, how much of this butterfly, now like I said, I cut it in half. How much of the butterfly that you see is really up to you. You can angle it, put it in any direction you want. So that's where I want these. So I am going to, how best to do this so that they don't move away too much. It's the problem when you're doing it this way. Come in behind here. That will go about there. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but at least get it at the angle I want it. I want part of the big wing and then the little butterfly to show. Okay. So they're staggered a little bit. That's perfect. Now I have these two elements that I want to stick underneath. Here's another butterfly out of the ephemera pack. Whoops, I'm kind of doing this backwards. I want the hummingbird down first. It's a postage stamp. There's a strip of them in your, let's angle them just a little bit, in your ephemera, and I just cut one of them off. And then this guy will kind of come in on top of the hummingbird, just so that it peeks out across the top just a little bit. All right, now we'll get into layering these. So the big cherry blossoms, and then I have this one. This one I'm laying down flat. I'm going to glue it flat down. I need to make sure that I'm not covering up what I want, what the saying says here. And then this cherry blossom's popped up a little bit. This is going to come in up underneath. This is going to come here. And then I'm going to put the little tiny butterfly right here on this blossom. So there's a little bit of element of height there. Okay, so I think I'm ready to put this down. All right, let's readjust here because I want to make sure I have the right, and then this is going to come here. I'm going to relayer everything just so that if I need to make an adjustment that I can. All right, so I'm going to put this little saying right here, and then I'm going to glue this down. All right, now I want to be careful here because I don't want to cover that up. So if I've got to pull this in at a different angle, I can. And then this, I will pull down. I'd like to try and cover that stem, so we'll pull this hummingbird, this group down so that the tail of the hummingbird covers the stem. And excuse me while I pull off camera so I can get rid of these, the backing on the pop-ups. I don't want them on my... Okay, so I'm going to use this tail, okay, to kind of cover that stem. And then we'll take the backing off of this. I like the glossy paper off the front of these collection pads, and that allows me to save the bigger elements that I have in the ephemera, so I can play with those later. So there's our front. I think we've got everything on there that we want, and now we're going to go put this on here so you can see where, with the backing on the white, the dark blue allows the light blue to show, but everything, at least to my eye, looks balanced. You can certainly use a different color. You can use a different color for your pattern paper. It's really whatever makes your eye happy. Okay, so I'm going to get that in there. And then we'll take these off. Got a little bit of an overhang here. Well, come on. Tuck that behind. I apologize for that sound. We just had some firewood delivered, and I think once it got out of his trailer, it made it squeaky. Now, I noticed that this is going to be a bit of a challenge, so I am going to take one of my small pop-ups. I'm going to snip it in half, almost. I'm going to take the smaller half, and I'm going to come in underneath here, lay that down, give it some support. There, much better. All right, so while we're here, we're going to work on our spine. Now I can glue this in. I don't need to tape it. And let's get this added up here, added on. And then I'm going to glue it to the I'm getting that on there right. Now we're going to work on the back. So it's pretty much ready to go. We just have to add some tape. I apologize, I really should have had maybe some of this done, so you're not watching a video of me taping. I'm sure you know how to do that. Okay. All right, so that's ready. Now we just need to add this. And I'm taping it because they're large sheets of paper, and I don't want the glue to dry when I finally get to the other half. Then it's a scurry to get it down on the paper before it completely dries. So bear with me here. off of there. And then I'm going to line this up very carefully. I know what I want to see for the trim. Have a little bit of a tape overhang, so I'm going to take care of that right there. All right, now it's time to put this on the album. I always turn it over. I want to make sure that I'm upright and that this is upright. I have in the past not paid attention and I put them on upside down. Okay, just very carefully. I should have even parts top and bottom. Now I can take the tape off the sides here. Come on. All right, there we have it. This is your outside build for your new album, Flight of Fancy, featuring Graphic 45's new collection, fun collection. So when you come back, we're going to be working on the inside left panel, and I look forward to seeing you then.